We're not those kinds of people. We don't try things. We just say shit and just keep talking and hope some of it sounds like semi-intelligent.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, hello everyone and welcome to the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast. I'm your host, Charles. Along with me as always, my co-host, editor, producer, co-pilot, gunner, navigator, orator, and podcasting associate, Jacob Gloth. How you doing today, Jacob?
I'm doing all right. Doing okay.
Yeah, you're doing okay. You're safe and sound. The working vehicle.
As well as you can be. Yep. Well, maybe not that second thing.
He's not sound, folks.
Well, you know what? I suppose it is working. It is technically drivable.
It is drivable.
Just not really.
I wouldn't take it on a highway if I were you.
No, I would not.
Speaking of highways, my show this week is called the Stellar Freeway.
What a transition.
Exactly. Stellar Freeway. It's a science...
Were you thinking about that the whole time?
No, but it...
As soon as I mentioned my car troubles, you're like, all right, segue coming in right away. I'm going to highway, but this is going to
my God, I wish my brain worked that way. I wish that I could, like...
Well, I mean, it kind of did.
It worked out.
You had it.
I think I'm more just good at, like, improv than I am, like, planning shit. I don't plan things very well.
Oh, that's great for a show where we have to pitch a TV show.
Pitch a TV show. It's a science fantasy road trip show. All right, that's what we're doing. Now, do you know the difference between science fantasy and science fiction?
Well, like Star Wars is science fantasy because there's wizards and knights.
Yeah.
And I don't know what Star Trek would be science fiction, I guess.
Yeah, Star Trek. I would say Blade Runner. That was the example that comes to my mind. Because science fiction is typically one of the major elements is that the universe of the medium, right, of the book or the comic or the video game or movie or whatever is altered drastically by one scientific change, right? So in Blade Runner, the scientific change would be the invention of replicants, right? In Alien, the scientific change would be like the commonization of space travel, whereas science fantasy is less about the actual scientific like advancements that lead to different societies, and more about like very basic storytelling that could be told in any setting realistically, but told in a sci-fi sort of a setting with aliens and monsters and stuff like that and spaceships, but that's all just kind of set dressing to the plot, which is about lasers and swords and pirates and wizards and shit like that, right? So this is a science fantasy road trip show about the crew of the Humble Bermuda, a hauling vessel that acts as transport for art and all other crazy stuff all across the soul being the solar system, right?
Oh, look at you.
Yeah, exactly. I got so many fucking space terms. And now all of the characters there are 4 characters who live on the spaceship, right? They all have one-word names, so I just want you to keep that in mind, right? The captain of the Humble Bermuda, I need to learn how to say that before I name something. Bermuda.
What if they spelled it wrong? I like Bermuda.
That would be funny. The captain of the Humble Bermuda is a cowardly and meek man who oftentimes uses his vastly more physically competent crew members to make sure that he stays out of danger. And his name is Captain Frog. It's just Frog.
Captain Frog.
Yeah. And then Crack, his second in command, is a tough, old school...
What was that?
Crack. K-R-A-K.
Crack. Okay.
Crack is his second in command, an old school killer.
Doing a little accent there, I see.
Crack. I think I'm more.
Is he Scottish?
I'm trying to roll the R, but I can't really roll R's very well. Crack.
You're definitely not rolling the R. That's all I got.
Crack. There we go. Crack.
I don't think any of that was it. You're just hitting the K real hard. That's all that's happening.
There we go. I did it. She, you sexist, she is the second in command, an old school killer with nothing to lose, so she's kind of like dejected and quiet and, but, tough and mean, right? Scar is the crew's doctor and strongman who tends to use his fists to solve problems, but is also a technical genius and master surgeon. So Scar is kind of like the big, lovable meathead of the crew, but he's also the smartest. Have you ever seen Atlantis? That movie, Atlantis, the Disney one?
Yeah, I've seen it. They're like, they're going to Atlantis. It's animated.
Yeah, exactly. And
cool.
There's this one guy, he's like Dr. Love, and he's this huge burly dude who's like a total like beefcake. But he is also the doctor, and you're like, oh, look at this guy. He's tough and he's smart. Don't get that in television anymore. Mm-hmm. And then we have Ray, who is a ray gun fighter, and often talks his way into as many problems as he fights his way out of. So he's kind of like the sneering, judgmental, cynical one of the crew, right? These are all very basic.
Oh, he's a dick.
Yeah,
okay.
He's a bit of a dick.
Like he's not like, falling into trouble. He's actually just being annoying.
He's going out, he's making bets, he's chatting up the wrong people, he's talking big, and sometimes he can back it up.
He's the kind of guy that would go to like a mafia poker game, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he would win the whole pot and leave before letting them try to win it back.
Exactly. It's just not, it's not going to end well for him. And so, these 4 characters, Frog, Crack, Scar, and Ray, are all members of the crew of the Humble Bermuda, a C-class mining ship that has been retrofitted into a transport vessel. It often sputters and stalls to life when the crew needs it to be fast. It's kind of a shitty old ship, And the goal of this series is to deliver a spelling bee trophy to an 8th grader on the other side of the solar system, right?
That is a great goal.
Yeah.
Love it.
It is a very low stakes transport mission, and it's a road trip show. So each episode is going to be these 4 people falling into all sorts of wacky misadventures throughout the galaxy, right? But there's not going to be...
Can I jump in with a question?
Yes, go for it.
So you said the solar system. So I'm assuming they're traveling quite slowly.
Yes.
Compared to other sci-fi shows.
Is
it more realistic in the travel times?
Yeah.
Because it takes us like months to get to the moon right now. Mm-hmm. So does it take that long?
I wouldn't say it takes months to get to the moon, but it's definitely like the whole journey to get from one side of the solar system to another in this universe would probably take between like 6 and 8 months to get.
Okay.
There's no light speed. There's no faster than light travel.
This is like sailing from like the New York to London.
Exactly.
In old in the 50s or something like that.
Exactly.
Or even before that when they had
probably not the 50s because they had planes in the 50s, but
yeah, they had
like maybe,
well, like I said, sail though.
Yeah, exactly. Why would you sail if you had planes?
When you're using a boat to cross the Atlantic, it's gonna take a long time.
It does take a long time. Exactly.
You've done it.
I've sailed.
Used to be on.
Yeah. Me and old Eisenhower, we used to sail back and forth across the Great Sea, preparing the Londoners
Just
for the Blitz.
The fun of it, yeah.
It was crazy times. What can I say?
Yeah.
I'm a hero, but
Charlie's a lot older than he sounds.
yeah, I sound like a young man, but in actuality, I'm a very, very old man. I'm an old man who's sick of this shit. I've been trying to make it in podcasting for the last 60 years. Nothing's stuck.
Yeah, and the first 10 of those, they didn't have or 30 of those, they didn't have or 40 of those,
40
of those, they didn't have podcasts.
Exactly. It was pretty difficult to explain to people who'd never even heard of radio before that I wanted to start a podcast. So I'd first explain what a podcast was, then I had to explain what a distribution service was, and then the internet, and then Wi-Fi. It was a whole fucking thing. Don't worry about it. I eventually got shot into space, so doesn't matter. And now we're getting to the most interesting part of the show. Not the most interesting part of the show, because I think the adventures are fun. It's not going to be like a serious show. There's no great mystery or like enemy that they're trying to confront. It's just adventure of the week sort of shit. But each one of the characters is going to be drawn in a very different animation style. That's my unique selling point for this show. Because the characters themselves have relatively generic, we have one who's a loner killer, and then there's another who's a big tough guy who likes to fight, but he's also a doctor, and then there's another who's a smart-talking gunfighter. Those are relatively generic characterizations, right? And so each one of the characters is going to be animated in a different style. So there's like a very unique visual language to this show. So I think Crack, the second in command, the old school killer, she's going to be rotoscoped in, You know what rotoscoping is?
Yeah. I do. You've talked about it many times. It's where you draw all over the live footage.
Exactly. They draw on live footage to create a more smooth animation, for those of you who don't know. And then Scar is going to be more like traditionally like 1990s style Disney, animation.
Big eyes.
Exactly. Ray, I haven't figured out what I want Ray to be, because I'm like, what can Ray be? And I'm thinking
What about?
Yeah.
Okay.
What was your idea?
All right. Yeah, well, no, keep going. And I'll drop
my idea for Ray was that he's more like mid 2000s, really highly expressionistic animation style, like Ren and Stimpy, or Courage the Cowardly Dog, that sort of thing. So he's a lot less.
I cannot believe you said that, because I was gonna say something like Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Yeah, that's what I'm about. Exactly. On the same wavelength, dude. And then Frog will be like ugly, sort of Toy Story-esque 3D animation, And then the spaceship will then, of course, be live action. So each character interacts with the world. They don't acknowledge that there's a difference in how they look. But like the spaceship is like model work on the inside and like sets and stuff, but all of the characters inside of the sets are animated, that sort of thing. And then each planet they go to will be a different style. We're not going to have like two planets look similar. Even if they're like animated similarly, the color palettes and the tone will be vastly different, so that from a glance, from a frame, you'll be able to tell where they are, right? In the series. And so I've got a few episodes as a few episode ideas, but of course, feel free to just say something. If you think of something cool, just say it, all right?
I will.
So episode 1 is the crew picking up the package. Frog accepts the package, of course, and he accepts the upfront payment, but he refuses to tell any of the crew about what's in the package. And then they get on the ship, and they're all like bickering and arguing, because that's who they are and that's what they do. And they rocket off into the blackness of space, where they are almost immediately set upon by a medusa pod. That is to say, they're crazy space dolphins that can, with matter manipulators built into their skulls, and they, focus them through their eyes, right? And so they have matter manipulators, meaning they can turn things to stone without any sort of magic, because they're crazy space dolphins, and that's what they do. And so the whole episode is them like bickering and arguing at the very beginning. And then they get on the thing and they have to fight off these space dolphins, and Ray's like firing his guns. He's in the turret, machine gunning these space dolphins. Scar and Crack are making the ship ready, getting ready, in case anyone gets injured, putting the ship back together when it falls apart, while Frog is like steering the ship, that sort of thing. We'll probably have a sarcastic AI who's telling them off. It's like, oh yes, that's very good. I love being blown up with lasers, you fucking asshole.
Oh, what would be great?
What?
Is if also the AI is mentioning that like these space dolphins are an endangered species. Mm-hmm. And it's like live counting down the number of them that are alive. And it's like, there are only 342, 341, 340, 339.
I like that. That's a lot. That's very good. Yeah, they get evasive maneuvers, and they're dodging through the dolphins and all that stuff. And it eventually ends with them like going into an asteroid belt, and like the dolphins like stopping outside the asteroid belt and like going the other way, and they're like, yes, we're safe, we've successfully evaded the dolphins, high five, and they're all like congratulating each other and hugging and being really happy. And Frogs starts setting up the course for the rest of the journey, and immediately they're hit with an enormous solar flare that knocks out all electricity on the ship. Episode 2 begins. The crew of the humble Bermuda is stuck after a solar flare has knocked out all of their power. They're scared and alone in the ship. You know, they're getting all their supplies together, making sure that everybody's like rationing and that sort of thing. And then you'll, of course, inevitably get the scene where probably just Frog, because he's the most cowardly and weakest willed of the crew, you know, sneaks into the rations and just starts gorging himself on all the food that they have there. And then the rest of the crew like pulls them out and is like, what's wrong with you? You've doomed us all. And they're about to kill him when all of a sudden they hear this like crackling almost like from the ceiling, and they don't know what it is. They think maybe it's residual electricity from the solar flare, and then they realize that it's a creature. There's something here. Maybe we can have it like poo, and it lands on Frog's forehead, and they're like, oh my god, there's a creature here.
Big dump.
Yeah, because it's a beast. And so that's when this latter half of the episode starts, where it's basically Alien, where all of them are like paired off and they're like searching through the bowels of this seemingly never-ending ship. And it's like all sorts of very dark and you know, claustrophobic environments as they're looking around, and one by one they're all picked off by this horrific creature until let's say Scar is all that's left, and Scar finally confronts the creature, and it's, you know, in the darkness he hears it growl, and he like prepares himself for the end, you know, he's out of bullets or whatever it is. And then out of the darkness comes like this adorable little like Pomeranian looking space creature, and it's, you know, not actually been killing the other crew members. They've just been like, oh, this guy's such a cutie, and they like love up on him and hug him and give him kisses, and they eventually all go up to the bridge, and they forget to tell Scar until finally he brings the creature back with him to the bridge, and you know, they all decide to adopt him because he's just the little man, and they realize that they're still all gonna die out here, but at least they have this little adorable mascot who will feast on their corpses after they're gone. And then just then,
Yep.
the mascot unleashes like this enormous electronic charge inside of the ship, and all the equipment comes back to life, and they start flying back towards their mission. Also, the name of the mascot is Toad. So we have Frog and Toad.
Oh.
Because I think that's fun, because Frog and Toad is a children's thing, children's books. The crew finally lands on a planet run by plants. That is to say, it's like an entire planet, similarly to how Planet of the Apes is run by apes. This is a planet of the plants. And so they run the planet, and they farm sapiens for their nutrients. So, you know, same way we farm corn, they farm guys to turn them into mulch to, you know, feed themselves. And at first, the whole crew is, like, disgusted and horrified by this, but then they kind of get over it really quickly. Like, so quickly that it's almost like the disgust was kind of just for show. They, you know, each of them was pretending to be disgusted, so the rest of the three people don't think that they're freaks, but in actuality, none of them were all that disgusted, because it's like, whatever. And then they are hired by this, like, plant civilization to hunt down and eliminate a rogue human who is out in the wilderness of this Earth and of this planet, and is like, you know, killing people and cutting down trees and setting fires, and all of these things are not cool with the plant people, right? And so they go, and they're kind of like searching through the woods, and this is, you know, majority of the episode is them searching through the woods trying to find this guy. And then they find him, and it's this dude who's nearly gone feral, right? He's like Ben, whatever, I forget his last name, Ben in Treasure Island, who's left on the island all by himself, and it's just like kind of slowly but surely losing his mind. He's kind of like that. He's like starting to lose it, but then Frog recognizes him as the president of Earth's son, who went missing a few years back. Turns out his ship must have crashed here, and he escaped, and he survived using his presidential training to wage a guerrilla warfare against the plants. But in reality, he was just hiding in a cave, like eating bugs and like rats for nutrients for the past few years. Like he's not actually a cool guerrilla fighter. He's more of just like a coward and a baby, right? And so they decide, well, we've got the president's son. President's still it's an open bounty for him. Like we bring him back alive, we still get $25K, even if it's been 6 years or whatever. So they decide, well,
guy's no longer president anymore.
Nah, but it's still an open bounty.
It's still open.
Yeah. The last president, his dad was assassinated, and then the president after that was also assassinated. But they never took the bounty down. So they bring this kid back. They decide that they're going to bring this kid back. And so they tell the plant people that they eliminated him, got rid of him. And in actuality, they just like shuffle him onto the ship, and then they get paid. And as soon as they get paid, they take off. They fuck off. And it's just like a nice happy ending. Episode 4.
Yeah.
They are stuck on the ship with the president's son, who, having returned back to civilization, has decided that to go back to his old way of being. That is to say, he was a spoiled, self-entitled brat who always got everything he wanted because he was the president's son, right? And so the whole episode is our characters just having to figure out different ways to deal with this guy, because if he lies to the authorities that these were the people who kept him captive all those years, then all of them will be executed rather than receiving a reward. So they have to like kind of placate him until they get him somewhere, until he finally decides he's had enough with their moronic servile like leadership. He's taking over. He's going to overthrow Frog and become the president of this ship, of this C-class transport vessel, right? And after he does that, pretty much unanimously, all 4 of the crew members decide this guy is so much more trouble than he's worth, and they just do a quick drive-by and drop him back on the planet that's run by plants and fuck off again. They're like, this guy sucks, you can have him back, sorry we didn't kill him. They push him out the thing, and they fly away. That's the end of episode 4. I've 2 more episodes, and then the finale, which is just as of a letdown as you would expect it to be for these horrible people. And so, episode 5, the crew finds a planet of clones, where the entire population is just this one guy. But the clones have divided themselves into 2 very distinct parties. One party, they wear goatees, and the other party, they don't wear goatees. And that's the only distinction between them. They all dress the same, they all act the same. One side has goatees and one doesn't, and they've been waging like civil war against each other for
those
decades.
Goatee bastards.
Exactly.
How dare they?
And of course, because there's 4 people in the ship, 2 of the people join the goatee side, and 2 of the people join the other side. Non-goatee havers, and they're waging like this war, and because our people aren't clones, they have more original thoughts and they tend to think out of the box more, and so the war is far more devastating with these 4 people in, because they're all like thinking of different ways to successfully like have ideas or successfully like do battles and stuff, and you get like each of the ideas will reflect the personality. Like Frog will be like, let's poison their water supply, and Crack will be like, let's drop bombs on their capital city. Scar will be like, let's give them faulty medical equipment or something like that. Let's stage a fight, a bare knuckle boxing match between our 2 sides, but our side will be all juiced up.
Bare knuckle boxing.
Yeah, okay. But our side will be all juiced up. Ray will be like, let's just go into space and shoot him from up there, that sort of thing. And each one of them will just like elevate the level of slaughter to levels that hasn't been for centuries at this point. And so inevitably, the goatees and the non-goatees decide that their differences are not really all that important, and they unite under one common cause, that they hate foreigners. They want to get rid of all foreigners. No foreign elements on this planet. The whole planet will be Jerry. It will not be anything else. Get rid of these foreigners. And so our crew is able to unite this planet, but they unite them through xenophobia, which is I think just pretty funny. And that's how they end the episode, with them being chased off by this entire planet of, I guess Jerry is the guy's name, who was cloned like 8 billion times. He chases them off, and they fly back into space. And episode 6, the final episode we have written down, is they find a refuse planet, but the population believes that they live in like the lap of luxury. So this planet is just it's like one giant garbage pit. Think of Sakaar from Thor Ragnarok, but even more trash and garbage everywhere. And the people are all filthy, and they disgusting, rats and like bugs. Like it's a horrible place to live. But each of the people living there, all the people there, think that they live in like an opulent, utopic society in which they're eating the finest meals and all that stuff. And so our crew has to figure out, why are these people so delusional? Is that their culture? Is this their culture? And it's like, no. It's not, because the crew eventually also begins to believe that they are currently on a utopic, like, beautiful planet, with, the finest of luxuries, and they don't really want to leave. And so eventually Frog, and, let's say Ray, figure out that there is like this miasma that has engulfed this planet. There's this miasma that's engulfed this planet that is like affecting the visual, auditory, and taste, abilities.
Oh, so it's affecting their minds. Exactly. They don't think they've got.
So they think they're doing really well, but they're really, really doing really bad, dude. And we find that it was like an evil wizard who was doing that from a top of a hill because he wanted to keep all the nice stuff.
Classic wizard behavior.
Exactly. Very classic wizard behavior, because he wanted to keep all of the really nice stuff for himself. So the only way to get people not coming for his stuff is to make them think they already have what they want. Dude. Yeah. And so they put a stop to that and then leave. Like, they just put a stop to it, make all of these people realize that they live in poverty and in, like, dirt and garbage, but they do nothing to help them, and they fuck off. Because that's...
Probably take some of this shit from the wizard.
Yeah, exactly. They'll probably, like, Scar will go up, or, Crack will go up and give him one in the mouth and then take his shit and fuck off. Take his wallet out of his pocket and fuck off. But I think that's funny that they're just like, no, this is terrible. You guys live in filth. All right, bye. No solutions. No help. They don't even kill the wizard.
Like fuel or whatever.
Yeah.
They were just like, all right, get in there, get the shit, leave.
They don't even kill the wizard. The wizard could just do it again, but they were just like annoyed at him more than anything else. And that's the end of the episodes that we have written out, except for the finale, which is a high-speed pirate chase across the final stretch of their journey, as they're being chased by these pirates for, like, let's say, like, a week of them just attempting to stay one step ahead of these pirates, and they'll stop at gas stations, but the gas stations get blown up as the pirates, narrow in on them, and they have no idea why these pirates are chasing them. And so it's a whole thing, and they're running for 90% of the episode until they finally arrive at the door of Timmy Wilkerson, the winner of the 8th grade spelling bee that they have been assigned to deliver the trophy for. And they deliver his trophy, and he is like, he's not like, oh my god, this is insane. He's like, oh, thanks. Okay. Bye. and
Shuts the door.
And they were like, knock, knock, knock. Excuse me, we were told that we were going to get a second half of the payment for this job when we delivered it. And he was like, oh, okay, I'll go talk to my mom. And then his mom comes out and is like, we didn't have any, no one told us about a payment, but here are some cookies. I made some cookies yesterday. They're a little stale, but you can have them. All right. Don't come back to my house. And she shuts the door. And then it's just our 4 characters just looking down at this plate of like kind of stale cookies and just be like so disappointed in what's going on. And then the pirate ship that's been chasing them this entire episode finally lands behind them, and they like all prepare for a fight. You know, Ray pulls out his 2 guns. Scar gets ready for punches, and Crack gets like a shotgun out, and Frog hides behind all 3 of them. And then a little boy steps off the pirate ship, and he just like starts kicking his hat and like getting all pissed off because he was like, I wanted the trophy. Timmy didn't even win. He didn't even win right. He got his words were easy. I had difficult words. Okay, it was really hard. Like the entire time that this pirate this pirate has
just a little kid
killed dozens of people in the pursuit of this ship. Turns out it was just a little kid who didn't want this other kid to get the trophy because he thinks he deserved it better, more. Wow. And then they like kind of brush him off, and he tries to do something, and Crack just like hits him really hard in the stomach, and he just falls to the ground and throws up and cries because he's a little kid who just got hit in the stomach by a grown woman. And then it's the final shot of our show is our 4 characters walking into the sunset, eating very dry cookies.
Nice.
Yeah, that's the end of the show. Stellar Freeway.
Stellar Freeway.
Stellar Freeway.
That was fun.
Yeah, I think it's just a fun little Adventure of the Week, Monster of the Week story of a show. Bless me, by the way. Sorry about that.
Mm-hmm. Planet of the Week, you might say.
Planet of the Week. There you go. And they have a mascot.
To clarify, this is not the Earth solar system, because these planets are all very different. So
yeah.
Assuming it's not. Right?
It's probably, I would say, just like some made-up solar system. Like, we don't have to give it a name. Yeah. You know, it's, again, space fantasy, so it'll be, you know...
it'll be whatever.
In a galaxy far, far away. You know?
And these guys are they're like the courier service, but I was thinking about it as you were talking, I was like, they're, you know, because this is like a faraway galaxy, maybe there's like, you know, there's like levels, you know, there's like standard shipping, there's first class shipping, and there's also levels to like ships and the fuel, you know, so like, for example, if you were going to, you know, jump from one system to another, you need like a certain kind of fuel, you know, like you got to get diesel.
Yeah,
you know, the equivalent of a space diesel.
Nah, diesel. We just call it diesel.
They just got basic, regular, unleaded. You know, the kind of shit that you put into any basic.
Yeah,
car.
Exactly. I would love it. It would be such a good gag.
And if you want to go a bit faster, you got to get like the equivalent to premium or whatever. But they don't have the money for that.
It would be such a good gag if they just go to an actual gas station when they're filling up the ship. They go to just a regular ass gas station.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'd probably have to put just like. Go to a gas station, get a green screen, and film it that way. Because I think it would be funny if you just have like a car, like just like your car, be in the other pump, getting filled up, and then it just drives off into space.
Drives off, yeah. Mm-hmm. That'd be really funny.
Any ideas for planets? Any crazy, wacky ideas that you have?
I was kind of thinking about like the style. So you said each animation style is different, right, for each planet? Or is that? Okay.
I mean,
and maybe for like if a one character is sort of central in that episode, the animation style is the same as
match that
them,
character's
you know?
animation style. Yeah, I like that. That's good. That's fun. I like it.
That could be something.
Yeah. But
I was thinking about we were talking about the space dolphins. So. You have them come up there, like the fight is kind of that episode, and then they get out of it through the asteroid belt. But so the dolphins, when they shoot like, you know, they turn you into stone or whatever with their rays. So I was thinking maybe their solution to like defending against the dolphins until they get to the asteroid belt could be like, you know, using like just like they're like fucking just bolting or I don't know how you fuse stuff to a ship, but you know, whatever science logic we use, where they're like connecting rocks to the ship. There's like somebody outside.
Oh, that would
just,
be
like,
funny.
Rocks to the ship.
If
you know, it's like they're like, well, you can't turn stone into
stone,
stone,
idiot.
so it's okay.
Ha, idiot.
So you got someone out there doing that.
Yeah, that would be very funny if we put.
Maybe
Scar.
the way they disturb the pod originally is they like accidentally just drive through like a bunch of their eggs. These are space dolphins.
Yeah,
So
they lay eggs, of course.
Dolphins are mammals.
Space eggs. Yeah, they just crush a bunch of them.
That could be a joke they make.
Or we send like
They're like, I didn't think space dolphins had eggs. No, real dolphins, they don't have eggs. Space dolphins, they
So
have
many
eggs.
eggs.
You just ran them over.
I got some. We made omelets. It's great. That could be also how they do it. As Scar goes out and he picks the eggs. He's like, I just found these beautiful, delicious eggs just floating around in space. Who would throw these out the airlock? Did you tell me those eggs were in space? Those weren't thrown out of an airlock, you idiot. Those are space dolphin eggs. Ah! And then all the dolphins attack. Like the Fire Nation.
Oh, and then to make it even worse, he'll panic and he'll throw them outside the ship. And then everyone in the crew's like, why the fuck now they know where we are? And then like the dolphins can catch the scent of their eggs and they come racing over and they see them all scattered and destroyed.
And then we see one dolphin like shed a tear
eggs.
and another dolphin come up next to him and put its arm around it and then stare meaningfully out into the darkness of space until they see the glint. I think it would be funny if we gave these dolphins a more human reaction to things, to death, than our ostensibly our human characters.
Oh, there could be like a whole like backstory here. Like we have like the father and the like, you know.
Yeah.
He's like gearing up for war. It's like an older dolphin, and he's like, you know, this was his.
He's putting on a prosthetic fin.
He's gearing up. His son just died in the, you know, his baby son in the egg died, and now he's like getting on ready. He's getting geared up for battle. This is like his last dash for glory.
If we had the dolphin tying like
gray-haired dolphin,
we had the dolphin tying a bandana around like Rambo over his head and like putting the black makeup on, like under his eyes, and say, "Let's go, let's do this thing." He puts a knife in his dolphin teeth. He's just ready to go. That's funny. I like that.
We got like hardcore metal music playing.
Rock on.
He's getting ready. Yeah, could be good.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening to the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast. I've been your host, Charles. Along with me, as always, my co-host, editor, producer, co-pilot, gunner, navigator, orator, podcasting associate, and my good buddy, Jacob Gloth. If you like what you heard here and you want to hear more, please give us a like, a follow, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your family, tell your dog, tell your cat, and remember, we will be here next week with a brand new televisual series for you to imagine and enjoy. And if you like what you heard here and you want to hear more, listen to the episodes we've recorded already. There's 183 of them. There's so many. You don't have to wait till next week. You can wait till now. Go listen to more. All right. Goodbye, everyone.
Tell him.
We love you.
Goodbye.